Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
Well, my friends, it's taken a train wreck to get another train wreck off the front page. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about a lot. I'm ticked off today. I'm a combination of, I'm ticked off. If I said depressed, you people would get worried, and I don't want you to get worried. I'm a little depressed about this. This is absolutely absurd that a 20-year ago Miss whatever seems to be dominating the presidential election, all because the drive-by media need it to dominate the presidential election, because if we get back to issues, there's no way Hillary Clinton can compete. And the drive-by media is happy to go sewer. They are happy to go tabloid. Anything they can do to protect Hillary. Anything they can do to avoid dealing with the issues that need to be fixed if we are going to save this country as founded. They seem to be just happy and fine with the downward spiral this country is taking, as long as the Democrats continue to occupy positions of power, which is why we're in a downward spiral. And so now we've got somebody that's absolutely irrelevant to anything. Some woman named Alicia Machado, who was a Miss Universe, who happened to gain a lot of weight, who Trump happened to try to help out, actually. He owned the damn business. It wasn't doing any good for the wearer of the crown to be looking like she was looking. But for it to become the number one issue in the campaign, and because of the itinerant controversy, and the thing that's ironic about this, they're claiming that Donald Trump bullied this ex-Miss Universe. Has anybody asked about Hillary Clinton bullying all of the bimbos that have erupted during the course of her and her husband's political career? This is so screwed up. If there is anybody in this campaign who doesn't pay women what she pays men in her office, it's Hillary Clinton. If there's a woman in this campaign that bullies other women and has been acclaimed for it, it is Hillary Clinton. On the one hand, we have Donald Trump, who supposedly loves women too much, that he's a Don Juan, that he was a playboy. The guy loves women too much. All of a sudden now, some unhappy woman hired by the Hillary campaign, running around making some stupid allegation about whatever happened some years ago, becomes the focal point and the means by which they can try to lay the label of bully on Trump, when Hillary Clinton saved her husband's presidency and perhaps the Democrat Party by bullying and trying to destroy every woman that had an affair with her husband. She ran and directed the Bimbo Eruptions team. She doesn't pay the women in her office what the men in her office make. She runs around and whines and moans about unequal pay. She needs to start in her own office. You can talk to any number of women who've been bullied and worse by Hillary Clinton and the entire Hillary campaign. And now we of course, have no, we're not even supposed to talk about that. The drive-by say, no, we cannot bring up Lewinsky or any of the women because Bill Clinton is not running, and that's not the story, and it's not useful, and it wouldn't be wise, and it wouldn't be helpful. Of course it wouldn't be helpful. But we can go after Trump all day long. Now, Trump could do something about this, damn it, if he would stop toying around with this. If Trump would take this back to the issues, if Trump would get back on the stump and keep talking like he has been for the past 3 weeks and stop taking the bait on this stuff. He's got the crowds. The crowds are showing up. Because the crowds are showing up, the media is showing up. So if Trump wanted to steer this back to the issues, he could. It wouldn't be easy because the drive-bys are going to try to present it or prevent it. And I know Trump's instincts. He's got somebody out there attacking him, wounding him, trying to. He's got to stand up and defend himself. But it's just prolonging this asinine story until this unfortunate train wreck in Hoboken took place. By the way, here's a, in case you're wondering, Governor Christie's made a statement. Grab soundbite number 19. This was moments ago on CNN. John Berman talked to Governor Chris Christie. He said, you told us this is being investigated by several local, state, and now federal agencies. At this early stage, is there anything to indicate that this was anything other than an accident?
Nothing at this point. But again, remember, we are at the very earliest stages of this. And so it would be inappropriate for us to draw any conclusions at this time. We don't have any indication that it's anything other than an accident, but we are not going to preclude any possibility because it would be irresponsible to do so.
Okay, so they don't know what happened here. The train left the tracks. It flew into the terminal building was the brakes. Essentially, one person dead, 100 people are injured. Passenger that they found said it felt like an eternity. I can imagine the horror that must have been involved in this. So they're going to start investigating this and looking into it and try to find out what happened. So that train wreck has come along and derailed the drive-by media train track that is Alicia Machado. I still have a whole stack of stuff on this woman today. Here, grab audio soundbites number 1 and just to show you. Our old buddies. I think we got something back and forth going here. I mentioned these guys, they mentioned me. They, of course, love me mentioning them on this, the most listened to media program in America. So they love me, Heilemann and Halpern, talking about things. Last night on their TV show, with all due respect, on the Bloomberg TV network. I have no idea what channel that is under. I've never watched the Bloomberg network. I really don't know. I assume it's in the 300s, which CNBC is, and Fox Business, but I'm not trying to cut it. I just never watched the network. Who wants to watch a bunch of business computer terminals? That's what I thought Bloomberg was. And then occasionally the mayor would come out and start talking about people drinking too much Diet Coke. And I said, okay, I don't need to see any more of this. Channel 353. See how helpful we are. Channel 353 on DirecTV. Okay, so here we are. This is Halpern and Heilemann, and they are talking about the emergence of the former Miss Universe in 1996. That's 20 years ago, is it not? Alicia Machado as a campaign issue. Halpern leads off.
Conservatives have been trying to discredit Machado by digging up stories from her past in Venezuela involving a boyfriend, a shooting, and claims that she threatened a judge. Rush Limbaugh today called her a porn star, alluding to a report that she may have appeared in an adult film. The drive-by media, as Limbaugh calls our ilk, have, for the most part, been giving this story plenty of airtime for the last 48 hours. Fox News, however, different story. Will the apparent effort by conservative media either to defend Trump on this or ignore the story effectively discourage the Trump campaign from changing course?
Look at all of the presumption in there. I'm not talking about it because it's irrelevant and it's dumb and it's silly and it's nothing more than a Clinton distraction. These guys are happy to use for that purpose anything to take attention away from her. And anything to take the issues off the table. The issues are how Hillary Clinton loses. The issues, the last 8 years of policy, and Hillary Clinton being associated with them and wanting to increase them, continue them, double down on them is how she loses. Of course these guys don't want that discussed. So with some porn star bimbo coming up from the Clinton campaign, bubbling up with all of these incendiary comments about Trump made to order. We're a highbrow program here. We aim for everybody, but we don't try to focus in this pop culture sewer. It seems to be where many in the drive-by media love sloshing around. Whatever it takes to help the Clintons is what they will do. And Rush Limbaugh today called her a porn star. I didn't call her a porn star. I was reading a news report in which she was referred to as a porn star. I don't watch porn. I don't know if she's done porn or not. I have no idea if she's. I read what one of your colleagues in the drive-by media wrote about her. She's worse than a porn star. But because she's a woman, and this is 2016, and women are getting bullied and raped on college campus, ostensibly. Got to be very, very careful here. So Trump calls her Miss Piggy. There is a character called Miss Piggy. Proudly called Miss Piggy one of the Muppets. Looks like somebody in American politics today, I might add. If you can't figure it out, I'll leave it up to you at some point to see. We got a bit Miss Piggy. So Heilemann reacts to Halpern pointing out that I'm berating the media for talking about it, and Fox News not talking about it.
One of the things that is true about a lot of Republican politicians, and particularly Republican presidential nominees, is that eventually they start, as the campaign gets for longer and longer, for a variety of reasons, they get sucked into the conservative media cocoon, and they stop talking to anybody outside that cocoon. It is understandable. You want the praise, you don't want the criticism, you want the easy questions, not the hard questions, but it is not to your political benefit to do that. And in this case, I think if Donald Trump is just looking at Fox News and reading Breitbart and looking at conservative blogs, he doesn't understand what kind of resonance this story is having out in the real world.
These guys think that this Machado story is the story of the campaign. The big, and by the way, so do some of you. Some of the emails I'm getting from you from Panic City indicate that you think it is too, and that Trump's got to desperately do something here to change the subject or what have you. This is what I meant yesterday by how easy it is to get sucked into the daily soap opera narrative put forth by the drive-by media. If you don't have the wherewithal to resist it, you get sucked into it, and you think that everybody else is getting sucked into it, and you think nobody cares about anything but Alicia Machado, and then you end up concluding that Trump's losing and Trump's blowing it, and then you get all depressed, and then you write me wanting me to do something about it, and I'm not running. All I can do is offer salient advice from my perch here at the Attila the Hun chair at the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. But this has not sucked me in, except to make this point. I want to make it again. The irony of this, and by the way, I say irony because the drive-bys love the journalists, so-called journalists, love the premise of irony. It's a close second to hypocrisy. When they find irony in something, they can't avoid it. And the irony to me is here we have Donald Trump being accused of being a bully, mistreating this woman. Over here is a woman who's running for president on the basis she has learned how to destroy other women. She has done more than bully. She has helped destroy women her husband has had extramarital affairs with. Hillary Clinton is the most cheated on woman in America. And she has taken it out on the women who cheat. She has not taken it out, that we have seen anyway, on her husband. Every action she has taken has been to excuse her husband. Everything she's done after learning of her husband's extramarital affairs has been to punish, to bully, to destroy the women involved, not her husband. Because, of course, to do that would have been destroying her own future and perhaps a large part of the Democrat Party. That's how messed up all of this is. And if we had a media that even had a grain of salt of objectivity, a grain of sand of even the pretense of fairness, once this story on Alicia Machado surfaces, they would clearly see the irony and point out that if we're going to make a subject here, bullying women, a central factor in a campaign, that it seems like the Democrat nominee for president is the record holder. We will be back. And welcome back. Great to have you, El Rush Limbaugh. Already on a roll here behind the golden EIB microphone. Okay. We have been waiting for so-called scientific polling data after the debate on Monday night to assess the impact of that debate. As you know, there were a whole bunch of flash polls afterwards. There was the Drudge poll. There was a Time Magazine poll, a bunch of local TV and newspaper polls. And in every one of those flash polls, Trump just kicked rear end. But in a CNN flash poll afterwards, it was Hillary that won big, 62-27. And while people were celebrating the flash poll victory for Trump, there were others. Wait until the actual polls, not just people that can go on the internet and vote countless times. Do that. Let's wait until we get some data. So the data started trickling in yesterday, and the first poll indicated that Hillary was a clear winner. I think it was Monmouth. No, it was Morning Consult yesterday. The Morning Consult poll came in yesterday, and Hillary was the clear winner, but the takeaway from the poll was that only 9% of the respondents in the poll said that the poll would likely have any effect on them changing their minds. Some people think 9% is a big number. Some people think it's not that big, considering the importance people attach to debates. It depends on how you look at it. So you have a big monster debate with 80 million people, whatever the audience was. 9% of the people watching, if we believe this poll, said, yeah, I might have changed my mind. That could be 9% of 80 million. That's not an insignificant number. The analysis of that poll also included the fact that despite Trump having lost it, it didn't seem to be significant enough or a powerful enough loss to derail his momentum. And I think we have evidence of that by virtue of what the Clinton campaign did coming out of that debate. You would think if they thought they won that thing hands down, slam dunk, that they would start hammering Trump on a number of things that include issues. And instead they bring up this former porn star and this whole sordid thing that happened 20 years ago with the Miss America pageant. The Clinton campaign just doesn't want to get anywhere near issues. They just can't. They can't. There's not a single issue out there on which they can win. Obamacare's falling apart. Trump needs to start reminding people of this. The economy revised growth from 1.2 to 1.3%, or 1.3 to 1.4, basically nothing. There is no economic growth taking place. We still have massive immigration problems. There's all kinds of substantive issue-oriented things that got Trump where he is that the Clinton campaign doesn't want to talk about. Now, we've got two more polls here, and both of them, Hillary wins big. Reuters Ipsos. What are the numbers here? I got to dig deep. 56% of the American people watching the debate thought that Hillary did a better job than Trump. 26% thought that Trump did the better job. Now, this also is an online poll, but it is considered to be more scientific than the flash polls that took place immediately after the debate. I don't know why. SurveyMonkey is the next poll. 52% thought Clinton won and 21% thought Trump did. Okay, want a reality check here. Depends on how you look at the polls. We have discussed this. You just can't throw out the polls you don't like and accept the polls that you do. You're not helping yourself if you do that. So we have three scientific, quasi-scientific polls, admittedly from the drive-by media, and they all are pretty close. Hillary 55, Trump 21 to 26, somewhere in there. Now, on the Trump side, if you listen to Trump thinks he won. Trump cites the flash polls afterwards. I'm sure he sees them. I'm sure he appreciates them. But clearly, as many of you know, because I think I heard from all of you, hanging curveballs that Trump missed. I mean, there were golden opportunities. And I made the point. Well, how important really was it for Trump to mention all these things when you already know it? You know enough that he didn't mention it. And a caller said, yes, yeah, but that's not the point, Rush. Yeah, we know it. But how many of these low-information crowd people are watching who don't know it that could have benefited from Trump pointing out some of these things about it? It's a great point. So what's going to happen inside the Trump campaign with this knowledge? Do they have to, I don't know because I'm not there. Do they have to convince Trump, Donald, you didn't win? And if they've got to do that, who does it? Who walks in, making sure there are no knives or sharp objects in Donald, you didn't win the debate? And then does Donald Trump believe it and think that he can do better or not? We don't know. But that's going to have to, he's got to get better in the second debate. Don't panic over this. That's why there are three, plenty of opportunity to get better. And I think getting better just is really nothing more than becoming more at ease and rationing your energy level. Anyway, we got a quick timeout. Back in a sec, folks. Okay, a little more data from these two polls. I just got a funny email. Hey, Rush, if a pollster called me the night of the debate, I'd probably say that Hillary won, too, if I wanted to live. Yeah, I know all of those things are factors here. And I know that there are a number of people that no matter what the polls say, because you can see what the media is doing with this Alicia Machado thing, you just don't trust them. You don't trust their polls. You don't trust them. I totally understand. It's just that you want to be right about this. I mean, you can't look at that debate. You can't look at that debate and say that Trump was who he really normally is. You can't say that he had a Grand Slam home run. You can analyze it and say, yeah, he didn't do as well as we hoped, and it probably isn't going to hurt him, but he could have done better. Now, everybody can do better every time they do anything. Let's acknowledge that, but that's not what I'm talking about. He could have been better in a number of ways, and you should want him to be. This is very, very important, and I think Trump owes it to the people who have supported him to give it his best in these circumstances. And it really depends on what his own impression of the debate was, what his real own impression was. He wants to win. I mean, that's his personifier, if you will. It's the identity of his personality. He wants to win. He is a winner, and he will focus on that. So that is a positive sign. You go to the internals of some of these polls, like here's the Reuters Ipsos poll. And this poll, by the way, has shown Trump pulling ahead in the last 3 weeks, pulling even and then pulling ahead right at the margin of error. This poll had Hillary up by 12, I think, or 9 coming out of her convention. 31% of likely voters said the debate improved Clinton's chances of winning. 16% said they thought the debate benefited Trump. But even so, Clinton's performance seemed to have little impact on her support among America's likely voters. The poll showed that 42% supported Clinton, while 38% supported Trump. Over the past few weeks, Clinton has maintained a lead of 4 and 6 points, and there was no bump among likely voters in the Reuters Ipsos poll. So that's good. In all of these drive-by media polls, the Democrats are widely oversampled, by the way. It has been noted. In some cases, like the CNN poll, after the debate, had a sample where the Democrats were plus 15. There were the 15% oversampling of Democrats. Well, naturally, you're going to get a result that shows Hillary winning. Now, the reason CNN says they did that's because they took a guesstimate as to who was watching. And they assumed that more Democrats were watching. I mean, they claim they've got scientific reasons for all of this analysis. But don't forget this. We had a story last week. Somebody gave the results of one poll, the details, the crosstabs, everything, of one poll to 5 different pollsters. And 5 different pollsters each came up with 5 different takes on the same data. The differences were not wildly out of proportion, but in 2 of the 3, Trump was judged to be the winner in the polling data analysis, and Hillary the winner in the other 3. So a lot of it is how the pollster analyzes the data that the pollster gets. So the CNN poll oversampled Democrats by 15%. The Reuters poll, Ipsos poll here, has Democrats oversampled by 11. And the public policy polling poll has Democrats oversampled by 9. Even though Democrat turnout in past elections has not exceeded the Republicans by anywhere near those numbers. Now, one possible, this is the Reuters story. They're worried, by the way, when you read the Reuters story about the poll that Hillary won the debate. Listen to this. One possible reason for the lack of movement in Hillary's support is that it usually takes several days to measure the full impact of a single event. So, while everybody came out of that debate trashing the flash polls as irrelevant and unrealistic, here we have a scientific poll from Reuters Ipsos, and it shows Hillary the winner, but by not enough. And it doesn't show the victory Hillary had powerful enough to change any minds, to switch the momentum. And so Reuters is left to make excuses for her. After reporting she won, one possible reason for the lack of movement in Hillary's support is that it usually takes several days to measure the full impact of a single event. Why does it take several days? And Alicia Machado? Because it takes a while for the drive-bys to, in their post-debate reporting, convince everybody who won. That's why it takes a few days. The drive-bys are not happy with the initial results in the Reuters Ipsos poll. So they say, well, it takes a couple days, 3 days before we actually have the impact sink in. What that means is it's 2 or 3 days before we can write the stories that tell everybody what a rotten louse Trump is and how badly he did. Now, the next survey, the poll is the Survey Monkey poll. This is an online poll as well. But their sample is random, not self-selecting. And what that means is that all these online flash polls, anybody can be in the sample. All you got to do is go to the website and click on who you think won, and you're in the sample. That's self-selecting. The pollster has no say-so over who the sample is. But SurveyMonkey, after they have everybody vote, then starts doing what they claim is their official pollster magic to turn this massive database of participants into a reasonable sample. They choose several thousand people among the millions who take other polls every day, and they ask them for feedback. And then they weight the results accordingly to try to mirror the demographics of the country. Their methodology is explained in detail in a little link here accompanying this story. And what the people at SurveyMonkey say they're trying to gauge is national opinion of what it looks like. So, in the SurveyMonkey poll, what do we have? 52% thought that Clinton won the debate. 21% thought that Trump did. Clinton did do better than Trump in terms of temperament, but even Hillary finished just 44-55 among independents on whether her temperament leaves her fit to serve or not. She did nothing to help herself with Republicans or independents in the debate, according to SurveyMonkey. So it's a second scientific poll in which she is declared the clear winner, but there's nothing else to report. Her victory has not propelled her. It's too soon to know. It's going to take 2 or 3 days for the impact to settle in on all of you and for the drive-bys to write their stories to help you figure out who won. That's the way they look at it. But the upside here is that even though Hillary won in these 3 scientific polls, she got no momentum out of it that they can find in the polling data. Trump didn't lose any ground. Hillary didn't gain any ground. So essentially, they can't find any data, these 3 pollsters can't find any data to suggest significant movement one way or the other on the part of either of these 2 candidates. So, what did appear to be a less than great performance by Trump, we can breathe a sigh of relief because there doesn't seem to be any significant payment for it, no significant damage, and leaving the next debate wide open for significant improvement. That comes up on the 9th of October. Be right back, folks. Don't go away. I got some people who want to weigh in on this debate business. I just came across a 1-page excerpt from Trump in his book, The Art of the Comeback, in which he writes about Alicia Machado shortly after he had purchased the Miss Universe pageant. It's quite fascinating here. It's very, very, very interesting. I'll have that in just a moment. But here is Greg in Elmwood Park in New Jersey. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you, Rush, for taking my call. Just a quick comment on the debate. Hillary was at 100%. Trump wasn't. Hillary will not be able to improve in the next debates. Trump will. I think the Democrats do have something to be afraid for.
Well, yeah, okay. That's any number of ways of analyzing. I still stand by my take. Trump didn't lose any of his supporters. He's not going to lose them no matter really what happens these debates, unless he tells them he's been lying to them all along, which is not going to happen. The connection there is too deep. But I still stand by what I think is the most important aspect in analyzing all this, and that is Trump is the outsider, and Trump's the how to put this, the way people measure Trump is not the way they're going to measure Hillary. Trump has no fingerprints on anything. Trump has not had a thing to do with anything in this country, good or bad, in terms of policy. He has nothing to do with it. Hillary's fingerprints are all over everything, including everything that's going wrong and has gone wrong. To try to judge Trump, this is where the drive-bys and the media are making the mistake, the Democrats too. They're judging Trump as though he's a lifelong politician. He's a lifelong politician who's got all these personality characteristics that are deficits and traits that are not positive, and they're judging, and that's not how his supporters look. I don't care about this. That's not why they support him, and so it's a different rubric. And the drive-bys are missed. They don't have the ability to get outside the bubble that they're in and to see Trump the way his supporters do. And that's important because the drive-bys are trying to separate Trump from his supporters. As much as they are trying to push Hillary, they're trying to convince as many of you as they can that you're wasting your vote and your time because Trump's not worth it. That's what this Machado business is all about. And they don't understand they're not going to be able to do that. So if all they can do is affect the undecideds, well, they'll take that too. But there's any number of ways of looking at these debates. And I think Trump has more leeway in terms of less than a great performance than Hillary does. I still think the challenge is always going to be on Hillary. I think just the fact that Trump's on the stage, he starts out with a plus. I mean, the guy he's never done this before. It's truly an invasion. Donald Trump represents the invasion of a very, very closeted and closed club that is very, very hard to get into. And he's crashed in and has got all of them quaking in their boots. I appreciate it, Greg. This is Jane in Bethel, Maine. Great to have you on the program. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very good.
Thanks for taking my call. What I'd like to say is that I hope in the next debate when Hillary starts trashing and bashing Mr. Trump, that he comes back with some kind of a line that, there you go, you're more interested in talking about me instead of talking about what you are going to do for the country.
Can you give me an example when that happened that you were frustrated that Trump didn't react to it?
Well, when she starts talking to him about bashing women and so forth, it's, I don't want to hear that. I don't care about that. Let me ask you this. Jane, let me ask you this very seriously. When Hillary started in on Trump and the lack of making his taxes public, the fact that he will not release his tax returns, and she started listing a number of potential reasons why. She went down to list. Maybe he doesn't have the money he wants you to think. Maybe he's not as rich. Maybe he doesn't give as much money to charity.Maybe he's filed a whole bunch of bankruptcy. Maybe any number of things. Did you hope Trump would respond to any of those things? I didn't care about that. I was in banking for 30 years, and I did mortgage lending and commercial lending and consumer lending. And the one thing that tax returns, they don't tell you very much at all. You learn more from your financial statement than you do your tax return. Your tax return may tell you how much you pay or what percentage you're in, But I don't care about that. I could care less about his tax returns because I know he's a businessman. I know what he's done for himself. He's a man that obviously has high ethics. You look at his family, and he's brought up great children. And when you see the success that he's had, that's what we need in this country. We need somebody that wants to lead, somebody that wants to win, and somebody that knows how to make a dollar and create a job.
I understand all that. I'm just asking you, you're a Trump supporter, and here goes Hillary, trying to capitalize on the fact that Trump will not release his tax returns. And she starts listing all of these reasons why. He's a liar. He's not as rich. Yep. He hasn't paid any. Are you telling me that not once in that segment you wanted him to fire back at her?
Oh, I did. But I would like him to do it in an eloquent way. But we all know how he is. There's ways that he could just bury her right into the ground to squash her. But, you know, he didn't do it. And I think, you know, some of it might have been nerves because it was his first debate facing her. But I do think he will do better in the second debate. And I hope he takes advantage of some of these situations if she decides.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's going to happen. One thing I know is going to, but I don't know it. When I say I think I know it's because I'm pretty confident of it. When I heard Trump after the debate, he tweeted out, there weren't any questions on Benghazi. There weren't any questions on the foundation. There weren't any questions on this. I said, that's right. You're going to have to bring that stuff up yourself. You think Lester Holt's going to ask you about that? Lester Holt is not going to ask Hillary about Benghazi and 4 dead Americans. He's not going to ask her about her email server. You're going to have to bring those things up, and I think that'll happen. I think the days... I can't believe Trump was waiting for it in the first place. But if he was waiting for that, they knew what the topics were going to be. There were 3 or 4 different topics, you know, broadly identified. But I think that's one of the things. Remember back to Obama and Romney and the last debate. Obama ended up with a hanging curveball on Benghazi, and Romney decided not to go there. Because Romney thought he already had it wrapped up. And then Candy Crowley, later in the debate, gave the lesson for Lester Holt on how to do it when it was his turn 4 years later. So he's going to have to do those things and go into those areas himself rather than wait. And I think that he will. Back in a sec, folks. Don't go away. This Alicia Machado. She is the exact type of woman Bill Clinton would go after. Exact kind of woman Clinton would think is a hottie. And Hillary would then trash the hell out of. It's exactly the kind of woman. This is what you get when you drag a dollar bill through the proverbial. Well, it is. And what can I... Hello, Carl? Yeah, that's a good point. One thing to keep in mind, and... it's actually a reminder. You remember way back some months ago, we learned that the New York Times, it was the Washington Post, had assigned 20 reporters to dig up dirt on Trump. And I imagine the New York Times has done the same thing. The point is, just like they assigned all these reporters to dig up dirt on Sarah Palin, and the best they can come up with is a porn star who was a Miss Universe that Trump once allegedly called Miss Piggy. That's it. That's the best they can come up with, apparently. And, of course, I wonder, who came up with this first? Did the Hillary camp find it and then give it to the drive-bys, or did the drive-bys find it and give it to the Hillary camp? You really think that? You think the Hillary campaign found her first, made her an official part of the campaign, and then the drive-bys are playing copycat and they're feeding off? Okay, fine. Well, hunky-dory. Greetings, my friends, and welcome back. How are you? Rush Limbaugh here. Envied and copied by many, but never equaled. Telephone number 800-282-2882. Just listen to this. This is it. I don't need to. I don't need to prepare you for it. I don't need to lead into this. It's Nancy Pelosi on Capitol Hill during her weekly press briefing today. And a reporter said, there are reports now, Congresswoman Pelosi, that the train in Hoboken did not have positive train control. And I know that Congress last year voted to extend the deadline for implementation of that technology. What do you think about that? And is that something that you believe should be revisited in any way? Do you have any idea what's coming here, folks? Here we go, folks.
I don't think we should have extended the deadline. The trains were still running. If you're going to extend the deadline, then stop the trains, because the risk is there. It's about time. And it's about time Congress faced its responsibilities when it comes to the safety of the American people, when it comes to the security of their families in every way.
It's a Republican's fault. These people have no shame. Here we have a train wreck, a derailment in Hoboken. And the first thing in fact, I bet that question was planted. I refuse to believe that a reporter has that knowledge at the top of his mind. That's so esoteric and down in the weeds. You telling me a reporter knows that Congress didn't vote to implement some self-control program? So the Pelosi camp tips the reporter asks the question so that she's not accused of just originating it. I was just answering a question from an informed member of the press. Right. And the answer gave her the opportunity to blame the Republicans for this. So we have at least one death, hundreds of people injured, and the Democrats are already politicizing this and blaming it on the Republican Party. The party of open borders, and who knows how much crime added to our streets because of illegal immigration that they sponsor. How about the crime that they sponsor with all of the politicization they've engaged in race relations in this country? And now Miss Pelosi wants to come along and claim the Republican Party has been lackadaisical in the security and safety of the American people. This is the party that just engineered the largest state sponsor of terrorism obtaining nuclear weapons. That'd be our friends, the Iranians. And look, I could go on and on with a list of all of the things this party has done that has put at greater risk the American people. But I point this out because we have a lot of millennials out there. We have a lot of people in general. I don't like politics. I just hate it. It's always arguing and it's confrontational. And I want you to understand who politicizes everything. You know, it's sadly the Republican Party ends up being blamed for all the so-called politics. Politics, when used as a dirty word. The Democrats are the corrupting agents. There is nothing sacred. There's nothing. There's no loss of life. There's no accident. There is no event that they will not exploit for political gain. I haven't heard one Republican come out and try to blame this on the Democrats or on Obama or on terrorism policy or open borders or anything, because nobody knows anything yet. But boy, whenever one of these happens, be it a shooting, what you watch, if there's a single person responsible for this, the next thing they'll try to do is show that this guy or girl, whoever did, is a Tea Party member. Or worse, a Trump supporter. Or somebody who was rejected for membership at one of Trump's clubs. Well, I don't think, if they could tag it as somebody listens to me, yeah, sure, they would do that. But there are bigger fish right now. It's a presidential campaign. If they could tie something, if they could relate this to Trump, they're already relating it. They're blaming the Republicans for it. Now, you people that claim to hate politics, you millennials, and those of you who think you're apolitical, you're just going through life and you don't like all this, I want you to know who's responsible for this. You bought a whole bill of goods thinking the Republicans are the bad agents and the bad actors here. We wish that some of what your allegations were true. They're not. I mean, the Republicans aren't even... there's a movement in Congress after the override of the presidential veto on families being able to sue the Saudis. There's a group of Republicans that's already making a move to soften it. led by Lindsey Graham. The 20 Republicans, they cannot, when they win, it's like, oh my God, we're in trouble now. They're going to hate us. It's like they think anytime they win politically, that the American people are going to hate them. Okay, I mentioned earlier I have just a little excerpt here from one of Trump's books called The Art of the Comeback. And he deals with Alicia Machado. Now, this is what Trump wrote in his book, and I want you to hear this and measure it against what you are hearing the drive-bys report about Trump and this former Miss Universe. Trump writes, having a broadcaster as my partner was a terrific strategic advantage. No other bidder had guaranteed television viewing. The other bidders were scared and their bids were low. The pageant in Miami Beach, my first as owner, was a huge success. We sold out the house. It was a mob scene. From my position off stage, I was able to glance up at the green room occasionally. I could just see Alicia Machado, the current Miss Universe, sitting there plumply. God, what problems I had with this woman. First, she wins. Second, she gains 50 pounds. Third, I urge the committee not to fire her. Fourth, I go to the gym with her in a show of support. Final act, she trashes me in the Washington Post after I stood by her the entire time. What's wrong with this picture? Anyway, the best part about the evening was the knowledge that next year she would no longer be Miss Universe. What's maddening is that I supported her, even in Palm Beach, where I haven't always gotten the greatest press. Shannon Donnelly, society columnist, Palm Beach Daily News, known here as the Shiny Sheet, wrote, here's a new one for the Donald, protector, advocate for large women. His acquisition from ITT has put Alicia Machado under the Trump aegis. The Donald, bless his heart, doesn't want to fire her because it will be a terrible message to send. He's instead bringing her to the spa at Mar-a-Lago, where she can work out in earnest, eat sensibly, and generally decompress. That sounds pretty gent-like to me. That's what's in the book that's what Trump wrote about Alicia Machado. Now, what have you heard? Is what? They called me Miss Piggy. He humiliated me. He embarrassed me. He kept her from being fired. He had to go to the board of the pageant, kept her from being fired, took her down to Mar-a-Lago, put her in the spa. I tried to help her, it sounds like. But that doesn't sound like the Art of the Comeback. This was written years ago, folks, before anybody knew this was ever going to be any kind of a controversy presidential race. So you can't say, he revised it, Rush. You know, he went in there, he wrote it, and the publisher republished that page. It doesn't work that way. John Hindrocker at Powerline. This kind of captures my sentiment on all of this. The issues disappear from the presidential campaign. Funny thing has happened as we approach Election Day. The issues have more or less disappeared, or at least the press has stopped talking about them. It's true. I was fit to be titled going. It said yesterday, it's always this unexpected crap that comes out of nowhere that has nothing to do with anything, that drive-bys just love to harp on and obscure everything else. Mr. Hindrocker continues. Donald Trump raced to the front of the GOP pack by focusing on illegal immigration. For months, liberals inside and outside the press denounced Trump's immigration views, accusing him of being a bigot. But immigration has now disappeared from the news. In the first Clinton-Trump debate, the moderator Lester Holt never mentioned the subject. Why? The Democrats understand that most voters side with Trump. Likewise with trade. Here, in my opinion, Trump is vulnerable. The issue is still too risky for the left. Therefore, the less said, the better. How about our declining military, the Iran deal? Hillary Clinton's criminal mishandling of classified information, the weakest economic recovery since World War II, stagnant wages, the war on cops, and a suddenly rising crime rate, the Libya fiasco, Obamacare, a failure by any accounting. Where have all the issues gone? Off the front pages, every one, and so far out of the debates. The issues that voters care most about appear to be off the table until the election is safely over. Instead, editors and reporters are feeding us a steady diet of Trump's tax returns, a reprise of Burferism, and Alicia Machado, a person evidently of great significance. Trump, of course, bears some responsibility. He's not a skillful candidate, and sometimes he doesn't have the sense to come in out of the rain or to stop talking about Ms. Machado. All too often, he's gone along with reporters who are obviously trying to throw him off his game, but it's not too late. If Trump gets back to the issues, if he stops rising to the bait every time a reporter tries to distract him, he can still win this thing. The problem is that to do this, he's going to have to keep his ego in check. Trump needs to remember that the election is not about him. It's not about his business dealings. It's not about his petty rivalries. It's about the United States of America and the future. Whether he can rally, whether he can do this, remains to be seen. That's John Hindrocker at Powerline. I subscribe to a lot of this. I think it's like the same what Trump said after the debate, that they bring up the foundation, they bring up the emails. No, they didn't. You're going to have to. And you're going to have to get them off this Machado business. And the longer you stay on it, trying to protect your valor or get the truth out. See, I think one thing has got to be understood here. You're going to lose the battle if it's for the truth with the drive-by media. They don't care about the truth. You cannot shame the drive-by media. You cannot share the leftists. Shame them. You can't. They have a totally different measure of success. Do I see a scenario where this Machado thing can backfire on the Democrats? Well, yeah, if somebody would start using the talking points I led off this program with. Okay, so you want to talk about bullying? You better focus on Hillary Clinton. You better look at the bimbo eruptions, and you better go start talking to Kathleen Willey and Paula Jones and Juanita Broderick if you're going to talk to Alicia Machado. If you're going to do that, you better go find them. You better talk to them. You better find out what role Hillary Clinton played in destroying the lives, grab of women who had cheated with her husband. You had better find out everything Hillary Clinton did to bully and intimidate and threaten those women who either came forward or were thinking of coming forward. There's a whole bunch of Clinton women that have not come forward that were bullied and threatened into staying silent. Unique evidence. Grab soundbite number 20. This is from the documentary film called The War Room about the Clinton 92 presidential campaign. George Stephanopoulos and James Carville ran the Clinton War Room. He now is at Good Morning America. And here's a portion of Stephanopoulos talking with an unidentified person about information they have that would be harmful to Bill Clinton.
Think of yourself. I guarantee you that if you do this, you'll never work in Democratic politics again. Nobody will believe you, and people will think you're scummy. The alternative is you don't do it. It causes you some temporary pain with people who tomorrow aren't going to matter. And you have a campaign that understands that in a difficult time, you did something right.
This is how they, to one degree or another, dealt with the bimbo eruptions that have yet to erupt. Just threatened them. That's from the war. They were proud of this. They made this documentary bragging about how they did all of this. Back in just a second, my friends. Phone calls coming up when we get back. Bo Snerdley, the official program observer, asked me moments ago if I thought it possible the Alicia Machado they could backfire on the Democrats. I guess. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I do think that it has the ability, it has potential, to make Hillary look desperate. Look, Hillary has this rep that they've built about strongest woman out there, tough as nails, smartest woman in America, more qualified to be president than anybody. including Obama, including her husband. She more qualified. She got a better resume than George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, FDR. This is how they're selling her. She is the feminazi. She is the glass ceiling breaker. She is the trendsetter, the pace setter. She's all but won the election. And she has to bring in her own bimbo eruption to divert attention. Why would you want to divert attention if you're all these wonderful things? Sterling feminazi, strong woman, glass ceiling breaker, smartest woman in the world, more qualified than ever. Why would you want to do anything to take away from that? Why would you want to divert attention from that and using your own bimbo eruption to do it? It's working. I mean, the drive-bys are clearly more happy to talk about that than they are any of Hillary's achievements. So, yeah, could it backfire? You tell me. Back to the phones as promised. This is Ronnie in Everett, Washington. I'm glad you waited, sir. Hi.
Rush, it's a pleasure talking to you. I love your show. Thanks so much for what you do.
Thank you, sir, very much.
There's so much talk about the debates and the polls and people on the fence and such. But in a race where the candidates are diametrically opposed on ideology, on every issue out there, you can't tell me people haven't decided. They know who they're going to vote for. Why isn't this a question on the polls?
You know,
I
hear you. I hear you. You would be amazed, however, at the number of people who will tell you they haven't made up their mind yet. It's the most mind-numbing thing. I agree. You couldn't have two greater differences here. And for somebody, I wait till I hear on the issues. Don't give me that. You're not waiting on. There's nothing more you're going to learn.
Right.
There's nothing more you can learn. So why are you remaining undecided?
I think they're afraid of the challenges socially. I mean, from their family, their friends, or what have you. Just by me putting a bumper sticker on my car in Washington, what would you expect? I've never been flipped off, cursed at, yelled at more. But the ones that come up and actually talk to me say, hey, I like that. Where can I get a sticker and such? I think people are socially challenged to actually talk with other people that they say, well, I just haven't decided. Oh, you decided. You have.
You just think they won't admit it.
Exactly.
So you think the debates are a worthless exercise in terms of actually changing voters' minds?
Right. I only feel sorry for my candidate that he may look bad, or her, the other candidate, that she might look bad or good or what have you. But I really don't care. It's the issues that I'm voting for. All right,
but let me try this on. Let me try this. I agree with you that these two candidates, there isn't much overlap, really, although some would argue with you, but I don't want to get into weeds here. Let's say you've got two stark differences here. But people who tell you they're undecided will come up with what they think are really brainy things is the reason. I'm waiting to see who does better under pressure. I am waiting to see who seems more presidential. I'm waiting to see all these nefarious things.
No, they're not. That's the so-called intellectual left. They're so sophisticated that, well, I want to wait until all the information is in and whatnot. No. You've decided. Come on. Just admit it.
Well, we're told that the undecideds are 20% out there, Ronnie.
I think it's more. I don't think it's that high at all. It's got to be down in 5. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, it's 20% is higher than it was in 2012 or 2008. There are more undecided in this race than in the last two. And they would tell you probably they're undecided because they don't know what to make of this Trump guy yet.
How can you not? He either speaks the issues that you're after, immigration, Obamacare. Those two alone will direct people one way or the other. I mean, it's that simple. You either shut the borders or you kill Obamacare. Well, no, I have to go for Hillary because I believe in social health care.
Well, yeah, but then you're going to have people. Yeah, that's what Trump says, but I don't believe he means it. And you're going to have people say, she's not going to do anything. I don't believe. You're going to have all kinds of reasons offered because, remember, we lionize the undecideds. We put the undecideds and the independents, we put them on a pedestal because they're told the election turns on how they vote. And so everybody targets, this is the great trick the Republicans have been suckered into falling for, targeting your campaign toward the undecideds rather than your base, because you figure you got them locked up. So you target for the undecideds or the independents. And that's one of the reasons why they're always held up as better voters. They're more open-minded. They're not as closed-minded as people like you, Ronnie, who've already made up your mind no matter what you hear. These people, we need to court them because they're waiting until they have as much data as they can get before they make the all-important decision of how and who is going to get their vote.
I think that's a futile approach. The percentage is so small, in my humble opinion, out here in Radio Land. That's 5%, if that are undecided. I can't even believe anybody's undecided.
Okay, so given that you believe people say they're undecided or not, then how do you think this is going to end up? You think most people have made up their minds, so who's going to win?
I think it's going to be a popular vote versus the electoral vote issue. I think Trump will have a largely, maybe even larger than in history, popular vote, but still won't win.
Oh.
But I'm also in belief that the system is corrupt. I know here in Washington State, it's been proven in our governor race several years back.
Yeah, that's true. There was real, provable, actionable fraud in that governor's race in the state of Washington. He's not making that up, folks. It's absolutely true. And so you're thinking Trump could win the popular vote and they can play games with it, the Electoral College. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, we could hear, wheeze all day long about that. But the idea that people are undecided, my entire adult life, I've been curious about people who say that, at this stage especially. How could you be undecided? I mean, especially for the reasons they give. Well, I'm waiting to see what they say in the issues. What do you mean? It's not even about issues anymore. It's about a porn star that was Miss Universe. Well, it is an issue. It's how I'm waiting to see how Trump deals with it and how Hillary deals with it. What do you mean how Hillary deals with it? Well, it's controversy on both sides. I'm waiting to see. So they tell you they're waiting for something. Now, Ronnie here is essentially saying he doesn't believe them, that they have made up their minds. They're just not comfortable in saying so to pollsters or anybody else. I think if you want to play modified conspiracy games, because look, folks, I'm of the same frame of mind Ronnie is in this undecided. I have a tough time understanding how you're undecided, but people claim that they are. The media exploits it too. Let's not forget. Now, what benefit could there be to the media, which means the Hillary campaign, exploiting the whole notion of the undecided? Well, one of the benefits, they could cite the high number of undecideds, and they could point out that there are more undecideds in this election than there were in 2012 and 2008. And they could do it in such a way as to make that look like trouble for Trump. Such a high percentage of undecideds, they would say, could indicate that people are afraid to commit to Trump. They don't like Hillary, but, gee, they're just afraid. And so it could be a subtle attempt to make Trump dial back on his positions. The premise would thus be, from the drive-by's perspective, in explaining the high percentage of undecideds, they're just not comfortable with Trump's extremism. And, of course, Trump's extremism is what he says about immigration and vetting refugees and law and order. So it would be an attempt to get Trump and his campaign to dial themselves back, which would end up hurting Trump. But if I could just remind you of something, folks, because you're observing all this, and as you do, I want you to try to keep something in mind. I would say 80%, if not more, of every news report that you see on the election and on the campaign, from ABC, CBS, NBC, New York Times, Washington Post, is essentially coming from the Clinton campaign. You would be much safer. You would be much closer to understanding the motivation behind whatever news report you're watching. If you understand, if you suspect, let's put it this way, have your doubts and suspect that everything you hear particularly negative about Trump is coming essentially from the Hillary Clinton campaign, because that's who the drive-bys are for. And that's who they are essentially working for. And so make sure that as you watch any mainstream media news story or coverage, interview, roundtable discussion, understand that the objective here on the part of people participating is to raise doubt and to cause concern about Donald Trump. And that will help you understand it and resist it. And in the process of understanding it, you'll be able to learn to spot what is not news and instead what is campaigning and propaganda. Because clearly that is what the news has become in this campaign. And the most recent evidence is all of this focus on fact checkers on Monday. Before the debate began, you couldn't turn on the news, you couldn't read anything on the web without encountering a story on how the fact checkers were going to be out in force monitoring Trump during the debate. And then you watch the debate and you hear Hillary. Well, the fact checkers are going to have fun. I guess we all heard what we just heard. The fact checkers are going to be all over that. Fact checking is nothing more than a technique for journalists to input their opinion under the guise of being objective. So understand that the vast majority of this Machado thing, it's coordinated. The Hillary campaign to the media. Coordinated. Hillary comes up with some allegation about Trump. The media, like lap dogs, will run with it because it's coordinated. You have to be able to watch this stuff and discern that, to understand it, to not doubt it. 8 times out of 10, it's exactly what is happening. I just decided to do a little LexisNexis on undecided, and this, man, oh man, are my instincts so on the money. Listen to this, my friends. From the Wall Street Journal, little blurb, undecided voters react coolly to Donald Trump during debate. Washington Post. When Trump said that not paying taxes makes me smart, undecided voters in North Carolina gasped. And from the Politico headline, New York Times to undecided voters, don't hand Trump the White House. So undecided voters are thought of as real, and they are programmed and campaigned to, and they are used by the drive-bys as a hammer against Trump. This is all bouncing off Ronnie, who called moments ago. He doesn't believe anybody can be undecided. In this race, he doesn't know how it is humanly, intellectually possible to be undecided. I'm here to tell you there's some people who genuinely are. I don't know if it's actually 20%, but there's no question there's some people who are. Folks, you ought to know this from living your life. The one human characteristic, and there are many, but one of the human characteristics that just rubs a lot of people raw is self-confidence, particularly on matters that many people think are complicated and complex, and anybody comes along and is dead certain what he or she thinks and is very confident. People don't like that. You're not supposed to be that sure yourself. That's not normal. So you either end up being arrogant, conceited, or closed-minded, whereas the undecided is open-minded and non-bigoted and clearly has a superior mind. And that's how it's all promoted. Because the person, and this comment about Trump is a perfect illustration. When Hillary says, Could it be that he hasn't paid any income tax? Yeah, it's because I'm smart. And suppose that rubbed independent voters in North Carolina raw. They just gasped when they heard that. That's exactly, I can believe it. That's the kind of thing that, doing it's one thing, and then bragging about it as though it's an achievement. Because they can't do it. And you're not supposed to be able to do it. You're not supposed to be that confident about being able to do it. It does. And particularly, I'm going to really step in it here, particularly millennial women. You are just not supposed to be sure of yourself on much of anything. It's not a good character trait. It doesn't matter what the issue is. Not being open to all possibilities, not being open to fairness and equality can rub people the wrong way. See, I can't help it. I'm right about most everything. And you wouldn't believe the number of people who are offended by that, rather than, gee, you know what, I'd like to learn how to do that. That's not how people react to it. They get offended. And then they start making disparaging comments. I mean, not to my face. Not to my face. And not just me. It's just anybody who is sure of themselves on political matters. I don't mean sure of yourself and just self-confidence about your being. I mean complex political issues where you know you're right and those creepy leftists are wrong. They don't want to hear that. You're not supposed to be that sure of yourself. It's too complex. You could be partially right, but you might be wrong, too, on some things. And they could be right. So everything is an adjustment. Anyway, here's Ron at Shreveport, Louisiana. Ron, I just looked at it. Go ahead, Ron. We'll see what we can do with this. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Rush. I'd like to make just one point on the media and then get your opinion on what I believe is the best course of action.
Okay.
The point on the media is that I don't think we should be surprised with what the drive-bys are doing. Witness the fact that they got Obama elected 2 terms with their ability to put out and cover whatever they want the talking points to be and forget the truth. Having said that, I think that the real course of action for Trump to take going forward is to completely ignore these follow-up debates. He has nothing to gain and everything to lose. I mean, I really believe that you and all the other conservative talk show hosts are going to be able to convince better any undecided voters that are out there than he's ever going to get from any of these debates.
Okay, let's leave it. It's a great way to end it, and I've got a clock problem, too. So, do I understand you, yes or no? You think he should not attend the next 2 debates?
That's correct. I mean, he has no benefit to gain from it.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. We'll take a brief break here while you steam up about it. We'll be back in just a second. Fastest 3 hours in media, my friends, and the evidence is constant. 2 hours are already over and in the can. We got a little break here at the top. Your local affiliates, to do the news and the weather and the traffic and whatever else, and we'll be back and roll right on. Don't go away. You know, this independent business. We just shared with you, before we get back to Ron and Shreveport's suggestion, I haven't forgotten yet. I'm going to get back to that in just a second, but I said I want a LexisNexis search. After this call we had on a guy not believing so many people are undecided, and the independents out there, and the Politico story I found with the headline, New York Times to... No, take it back. It was the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal, undecided voters react coolly to Donald Trump during debate. And the Washington Post said, when Trump said that not paying taxes makes me smart, undecided voters in North Carolina gasped. I just remember we had a story. Was it post-debate? The debate was Monday. I think McClatchy had a focus group watching this thing in North Carolina, and they overwhelmingly went for Trump in this debate. Oh, gosh, my mind is playing. I don't know if that focus group was something else or if it was about the debate. But it was a McClatchy story. McClatchy convened a focus group of independents, and they all ended up, the vast majority of them really, really dug Trump. And McClatchy couldn't believe it. That was the story. The reporter, whoever did it, could not believe it. They were shocked and stunned. And yet here's the Washington Post reporting that independents in North Carolina, when Trump said that it was smart not to pay any taxes, they openly gasped. At any rate, was it? I know it was McClatchy. Was it about the debate? Was it? Okay, so it was this week. Okay, it's so much runs through here. I don't know when. Can't remember exactly when something happened. The debate seems like yesterday, so I'm trying to think in my mind, did we cover that about the debate? Apparently we did. The official Program Observer has found it. So it was a McClatchy story. They had a Clinton falters among some voters, independent voters, swing states. And it was McClatchy in North Carolina specifically. So this Washington Post headline is caca. Anyway, folks, greetings and welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh behind the golden EIB microphone. So we just had Ron from Shreveport, Louisiana. Do you know who's famous from Shreveport, Louisiana? Two people that come to mind. There's many more, but two people come to mind famous from Shreveport, Louisiana. Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw and Hal Sutton of the PGA Tour. Well, he's now probably on the Champions Tour. Hal Sutton's from Shreveport. And there's another David, looks like a male model. Can't remember his name. David. He's all from Shreveport, professional golfer. Good, too. I can't think of his last name. Mental block. Anyway, because in fact, Bradshaw had to cancel. They had some kind of a fundraiser every year for their foundation. And I think it was to build a children's hospital. That's what it was. And Bradshaw was due to speak, and he couldn't make it. And they called me at the last minute. Can you come down and do it? And I did it. And I met Sutton at that thing, and David Toms. David Toms is his last name. Which reminds me, the Ryder Cup starts tomorrow. And Davis Love III is the captain. Davis Love III. I didn't know. My mother had friends in North Carolina. After I'd left home, I was in Pittsburgh and Kansas City, and she had a friend of hers from our hometown of Missouri had moved there. And one of her friends had met Davis Love III's mother. And my mom knew Davis Love III's mother, and I never knew any of this until I met Davis Love III, and I saw him one year at Augusta at the Masters. And that's when he was walking, I think, 14, and he came over to the ropes and said hi. And that's when I learned that my mom knew his mom. His mom was also in the ropes. His mom was walking the gallery, and I met her. That's what it was. Anyway, he's a great, great guy, and he's the captain of the team, and it kicks off at Chaska, Minnesota. You know where Chaska, Minnesota is? It's outside Minneapolis. The golf course is Hazeltine, and it's tough. It's a tough course. And it starts tomorrow, I think, at 8:30 or 9 o'clock on the Golf Channel. Oh, that was. Look, this is Danny Willett. Danny Willett, the guy that won the Masters, he's a partier. Danny Willett and he's got a brother who is even bigger part. His brother just went off on slothful Americans. Not the players, but fans. The way we talk about bloggers is the way he described, well, not bloggers, but the pajama-clad crew. He just went after them. Danny Willett's brother just went after American golf fans. A bunch of fat slobs that sit around eating Cheetos and Doritos all day, yelling at their computers while wearing their pajamas, thinking they can do anything when they can't do anything. And Darren Clark, the Brit captain, had to say how embarrassed he was and how he wasn't going to put up with that. He sent Danny Willett to talk to his brother about it. Yeah. You didn't think I knew about that, did you, when you brought that up? But I knew about it. So the Ryder Cup starts tomorrow. Okay, now back to Ron in Shreveport, Louisiana. He said that he thinks Trump should just bag these next two debates. Just blow them off. There's no point. There's nothing to gain by showing up at these things. The deck is stacked. No matter who the moderators are, the deck is going to be stacked. There's no way Trump can really win. He doesn't have to, is his point. If Trump just forgets the debates, there are going to be people applauding him left and right for doing so. He can stay on the campaign trail and just do a rally after rally after rally with media coverage of that and build his base out the wazoo. And control every event he goes to rather than go to a debate where he surrenders control and by definition is constantly on the defensive. Screw that. So my mind was working overtime in the break because it jogged a memory in one of the deep, dark crevices of my fertile mind. Do you remember Trump bagging the debate in Iowa before the Hawkeye? Trump bagged it in lieu of, because Megyn Kelly, I think, was going to be a moderator or something. Or not. Yeah, I think it was. Something to do with the moderators. That's right, because Fox was holding out hope that Trump would change his mind. There were high-level negotiations going on all day, and Trump finally said, screw it, I'm going to do a personal appearance and salute the military, which he did. He won the Hawkeye. Didn't he? He won the Hawkeye by blowing off the Hawkeye debate. Or did he lose the Hawkeye? Did Cruz win the Hawkeye? I'm trying to... I thought I had this down, Pep. No, I'm not sure. Trump, the only primary Trump won in the early days of the primary was I'm told it was the Hawkeye that he won. But I'm not so sure of that. But anyway, it didn't hurt him. The bottom line is, by bagging the Hawkeye and the debate leading up to it, he didn't hurt himself. And the theory here from Ron in Shreveport is that there's no downside. Now, let's imagine this. Let's say Trump, and they've announced that he is going to do it. No, I'm sorry. He lost the Hawkeye. I'm sorry. The only primary that Trump lost in the early days of the primaries was the Hawkeye, which happened after he skipped the debate. That's what I remember. He didn't do the debate, and he lost the Hawkeye. I remember the media was saying, these people in Iowa, they don't like it when you disrespect them that way. Trump said it wasn't important enough for them to learn about him personally. He didn't go to the debate, and so people in Iowa didn't vote for him in the caucus. He didn't win the Hawkeye. So that it would be an argument for not skipping the debate because, yeah, I know he didn't have a ground team in Iowa. Doesn't have much of a ground team now. What are you snickering at? He doesn't have a ground operation. Why is that controversial? I'm not even being critical. He is not invested. How many Trump campaign headquarters offices are there? There aren't that many. He doesn't have many. I think he's got one in Florida. But he's running an unconventional campaign. Anyway, so he didn't do the Hawkeye. He skipped that debate. He lost the Hawkeye. So could you extrapolate from that if he doesn't do these debates, it could be harmful? You know what the media is going to do. By the way, folks, you should know I have a couple here of truly in-the-tank Trumpists, and they don't think Trump should ever appear with anybody in the media. And they think Trump ought to bag this debate and the next debate and any forum that's anything like a debate where Hillary Clinton is there, because they think there's absolutely nothing to gain. Because the deck is constantly stacked. Trump is, by definition, going to be on defense. They hate the media. They don't think there's any possibility Trump can get a fair shake. Shouldn't do it. Waste of time. Can actually help himself more by bagging these and continuing to stay on his exhaustive campaign schedule. Now, if he bagged the debate, and by the way, they're announcing he's going to be there because this has come up, but they're announcing, his team's announced he's going to be there. Let's just say he cancels it. Can you imagine what's going to be done with that? they would drop Alicia Machado like the hot tamale she is, and they would veer into Trump's a coward. What's he afraid of? He's admitting that Hillary skunked him in the first debate, and they would do everything they could to say that Trump is admitting he can't even stay even with her. And you don't think that would hurt? You don't think what the media would do with Trump canceling his appearance in the next debate, you don't think that the accompanying media firestorm over this would hurt him? Depends on how he explains. Doesn't matter what he says. Why? If he goes out and says, I'm not doing the debate because I have learned how rigged it is. I have learned it's not productive. I have learned I am not going to be able to get my points across because I'm going to be interrupted by moderators and distracted and talk about things that don't matter. I can do a better job staying focused if I stay on my own campaign trail. No matter what he says, if he says that, the media is going to translate it for people as meaning that Trump is afraid. So my question to you, do you think Trump could survive and prosper a never-ending media narrative that Trump is a coward? Because that's what it would be. That would be the narrative. That would be the spin. There wouldn't be anything else. They would take what Trump says and they would accuse him of lying, of making it up, of making excuses. And then they would hunt down people close to Trump in the campaign who would say, yeah, he just, after that first debate, he knows he's not going to get a fair shake. And he doesn't want to put up with it anymore. They're going to translate that as cowardice. You think he should bag the debate, give a great reason, and you think the great reason will be reported fairly and honestly by the media with a degree of understanding. It won't be the case. What if Hillary canceled the debates because of her health? What do you think would happen? Okay, right, she'd lose the election. But you don't think Trump would be hurt by quitting the debates? You don't think Trump would be harmed at all? I know our people hate the media, but are there enough people who hate the media who will vote for Trump because of that? I mean, you're basically saying, if you think Trump should quit, that a vast majority or a simple majority of the American voters would applaud because they hate the media. And if you think that there are enough of those people who would applaud Trump and vote for Trump for doing that, then I can understand your thinking. But I don't think I agree with your thinking. Yes, media ranks lower in trust, and yet people still watch them and quote them every damn day. You see what I saw in the New York Times? You see what I saw in the NBC Nightly? Did you see what I saw? They might say they disrespect them, but they quote them left and right, and they send out news stories that are published on these websites if it is interesting to them one way or the other. So you better think really hard about that. I know it's an unconventional campaign. That'd be a very unconventional thing to do, and I can understand the thinking that it might resonate with a lot of people, but would it resonate positively with enough? And I don't see that. Look, folks, let me just put something to bed here real quick. Donald Trump is not going to bag the next debate for one reason. The media has proclaimed him the loser. He is not going to pull out of this debate with the drive-bys saying he's a loser. He's too competitive. If he had won the first debate, maybe. But that would be pulling out as a winner, and he could easily say, look, and it was so bad, I don't think Hillary has any hope. I don't want to humiliate her anymore. But he can't do that because the drive-bys are out saying he lost the debate. Now, interestingly enough, the left-leaning polling unit known as Public Policy Polling actually asked respondents this question in their latest poll. The question is this: do you think Donald Trump should participate in the remaining debates for president this fall or not? 76% of the respondents in the public policy polling poll say Trump should participate. 76% say should. 17% say that Trump should not. And 7% were not sure. Now, you have to ask yourself something. Why in the hell was public policy polling asking their respondents this question? Where does this come from? You have to admit, this is a weird question. I'll tell you where it's coming from. These people think that it was so bad for Trump, they think Hillary should. Actually, what they think is that Trump was horrible. They think Trump was embarrassingly bad. They don't think that Hillary was that good. They really think, these people on the left in the media, they think Trump was an abomination. They think it was embarrassing. It was unprepared. He didn't take it seriously. And he let down his supporters in that regard. So do you think he just maybe should not even do any more of these? He was so bad. That's the underlying unstated tone attached to the poll question. Did Trump do so badly that he shouldn't even participate in the remaining two debates? That's why they asked the question. That's my opinion on this. And 76% of their respondents said that Trump should. Now, I went back and I got this McClatchy story. It's presidential debate surprise as Clinton wins polls but loses votes in swing state. And this is the focus group that McClatchy put together to watch the debate. And everybody agreed that Clinton won the debate. But all of these people, these independents in the focus group, said it didn't matter. They're voting for Trump. Kay Roberts, John Erdley were leaning toward Hillary Clinton before Monday night's debate. By the end, they had pulled away. John Kokos and Hank Federer were undecided going in, potential Clinton backers. By the end, they had ruled her out. Indeed, while polls said that Clinton won the first general election debate with the Trumpster on Monday, she may not have won actual votes, and she may even have lost some, at least in the battleground state of North Carolina. In a focus group of 21 voters from around Charlotte, conducted by McClatchy and the Charlotte Observer, 4 who were up for grabs before the debate, undecided, moved away from Hillary by the end of the debate. I went back and got this because I distinctly remembered it. Because it premise here is that Trump lost the debate, that Hillary looked and just comported herself much better. And yet, people tending to Hillary decided not to go with her. And the reason, she's not likable. She's not trustworthy. She had that smirk, that arrogant, condescending look on her face that nobody is still talking about. It's one of the great uncommented upon things. I got to take another break. Sorry. Folks, I don't want to sound any alarm bells or anything here, but I have to tell you something. What's wrong, Brian? What are you pointing something? Oh, I thought you were pointing at like my hair being wrong or something. Just teasing. I thought he was looking over my head. Something behind me was wrong. Chris Christie, who is the governor of New Jersey, was just doing a press conference on a train derailment in Hoboken. And Governor Christie, during the press conference, said that he had just received a call from the White House. White House had called him, offering him their assistance in the aftermath of the train derailment in Hoboken. Does that conjure up any memories? Ladies and gentlemen, does it remind you, maybe, say, of a hurricane that happened? Hurricane Sandy. Does it remind you that President Barack Hussein O. showed up after having offered Governor Christie assistance? What was it, a week or two before the election in 2012? And Governor Christie was it the beach they were walking or something close to the beach? And it was the hug, was it not? Do you recall people being infuriated over this? 2 weeks before the election, Christie had been the keynote speaker at the Republican convention. It looked like a slap at Romney. So just wanted to share with you before you hear it yourself. We're much farther from the election this year than the Hurricane Sandy aftermath. But Christie was clearly trying to reassure people that the White House had called him and had offered assistance. Wayne in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm glad you waited, sir. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Limbaugh. Let me say that I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she loves your book. I also want to say that I think Donald Trump, he needs to reinforce what people already know about Hillary Clinton. I think in the next debate, he should go in with a theme. How can you trust her? And he should also have a theme that I work for Americans first. I think before, when she gets finished talking, he should always start off with, how can you trust this woman? This is a woman who lied about sniper fire. This is a woman who lied about her emails. Every time he has a time to speak, he needs to drop another line. How can you trust her when she lies about this? And I think he should also go through debate making the point that she's working for illegal immigrants. I'm working for you. She's working for refugees. I'm working for you. I'm putting America first. I'm putting hard-working Americans first. I'm putting our security first. She wants to make sure that the rest of the world is okay. She seems really, really excited about doing stuff for people that are not Americans and that are not working hard to try to raise their families. So I think if he continues that narrative and pushes that narrative, how can you trust her? And I'm working for Americans first. I think it'll be somewhat of a different debate. He did some masterful things in the first debate. The first 30 minutes, he knocked it out of the park, and he was saying things that Americans know are true. We're on a bubble right now. And as soon as the next president come in and they start messing with the interest rate, all this is going to come crashing down. And Trump was hitting that note, and I think people felt it, and she knocked him off balance. That's pretty much what I wanted to say, and I would love to hear your thoughts, sir. Thanks again for
don't hang up yet, Wayne. First thing I was going to say is a campaign needs to find you and hire you.
I wish they would.
They need to find you for debate prep. We need to find a way to get you in the inner circle for debate prep, because that is perfection. That would rattle her. It would keep him on offense. The moderators would come after him on it, but that's something you can't lose on because he'd be telling the truth about her.
Absolutely.
That's the thing about this that you've nailed. All he's got to do is remind people of the truth about her, the things that she has done, going all the way back, this email server to Benghazi, to her lack of success running healthcare the first time, how healthcare today is a disaster, and how she was part of everything that's gone wrong in these last 8 years. It's ideal.
I mean, big lies, small lies. She lies about where her name came from. She lies about everything. And as long as he pushes that, there's really nothing she can say. She can try to move on, but he needs to come right back to it.
Well, you know, that's right. She will try to respond by accusing him of lying and doing other things, as long as he just ignored her and didn't take the bait of what she retorts with or what she offers in advance, like on offense. Just ignore it and focus on her, and then take every one of those and relate it back, like you said, to what he wants to do to make America great again, and how he can be trusted to do it. And I think you should keep emphasizing she's been in Washington 25 years with nothing to show for it, as evidenced by her agenda. Her agenda today is what it was 25 years ago. She hasn't moved it forward. She's still complaining about the same things.
Absolutely. Mr. Limbaugh?
Yeah.
I just want to say again, and I don't know if you heard me, I want to say thank you for your books. Me and my child, I'm 42 years old. I'm an African-American. I'm a conservative. And I want to say that me and my child, we read your books together. She loves the talking horse, and it really makes for great, positive, quality time with me and her. I think it's really opened up a door in her mind that we can talk about. She's asking me to read the book and to read the book to me. So I really want to appreciate you for what you do on that.
Well, thank you. I heard that. One of the reasons I wanted you to hold on is that I want to get your mailing address or a FedEx address so that we can ship, like we'll send her a Liberty doll.
Wow, that's great.
And does she have all the books?
No, we only have the Brave Pilgrims. You know, I'm a truck driver, and we have to budget our money, so we kind of, I'm just trying to space it out for Christmas and different things like that. But, she didn't have them all. We got through the Brave Pilgrims, and she's asking about more. But I really appreciate the doll. You know what I mean? And she's going to be excited, man. I'm going to look like a hero now.
Oh, we'll send you all the books. There's 3-4 more to come. But what? How old is she?
She's 9 years old.
9 years old. Okay. Okay. Well, look, don't hang up so Mr. Snerdley can get your ad. We're going to put together an entire package for her that we will send out. That'll be the Liberty doll, and it's a big stuffed Liberty doll. Looks just like the talking horse Liberty in the books, and then some other things to go along with that, plus the books, and just some fun stuff. That because you made my day with this. This couldn't get any better than this.
You made my week getting on. I just want to let you know, it's a lot of African Americans out here that listen to your show and that really want to raise their families the right way, man. And I'm telling you, you got an army out here, man. I wish you made yourself more available to African Americans because they really need to hear the message. This is what we grew up with. A lot of us, like I said, I'm 42. We grew up in conservative homes and didn't know that they were conservative. And when I heard you for the first time, it was like a light went off in my head.
Well, that's the case of so many people. They grew up in conservative homes and didn't know it. And then one thing or another happened, and they either confirmed it or were shamed out of it. But you fell right into it. This is great. Like I said, you made my day here, Wayne, and I want you to make sure you hang on. Don't hang up so that we can find out. We'll get some stuff out to you ASAP as quickly as I think I've got an iPad here that she would love. Do you guys have an iPad in the family?
Sir, we don't have an iPad. We just got a little tablet that I purchased a couple years ago, and we've been working off that tablet. But I got to tell you, Mr. Limbaugh, I appreciate it so much.
I'd be honored to throw one of those in there. That I know she'll have tomorrow. The other stuff we have to assemble, but that'll come quickly too. You made my day here, Wayne. I really hope somebody in the Trump campaign heard your call. That is an excellent strategery. An excellent battle plan. I really thank you. Again, hang on. Do not do the instinctive thing and hang up because we're not through. Be right back here, folks. Don't go away. Have you heard France and Britain are building border walls? France is building a roughly mile-long concrete barrier intended to separate a migrant camp from the tunnels that offer passage to Britain. This is near Calais, or Calais, however you pronounce it. It's the latest attempt to what has become a global effort to throw physical barriers in the way of historic streams of human migration. France and Britain have beat Trump to the punch, and they're building border walls themselves. From a website called Motherboard. Goodbye, world. We have passed the carbon tipping point for good. It's a banner week for the end of the world, it says here, because we've officially pushed atmospheric carbon levels past their dreaded 400 parts per million permanently, meaning it's over. We have missed the opportunity to stop global warming, climate change. It's over. The planet is now destined to be uninhabitable. We have blown it, according to this bunch. That's the extreme levels they are willing to get to in order to be persuasive, because they still can't reach a majority on this BS. Okay, folks, that is it for today, but tomorrow is Open Line Friday, and no matter, we have the widest range of issues and topics discussed in any 3-hour media segment, and you will find anywhere, with expertise provided by the host on every subject discussed. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.